Hey, hello everyone. It's that time. The top 5 train is leaving the station, so shall we climb aboard? Topic number 1. If you're lucky enough to know someone whose life has been turned upside down by opioid, consider yourself fortunate because according to some shocking new research, even your own chances of becoming a chronic opioid user are a lot higher than you might ever imagine, and that's the case no matter what your age or where you live. And steering clear of that risk may all depend on asking your doctor just one simple but vital question. Practically any label you pin on the opioid problem in the U.S. is an understatement. It's invaded every nook and cranny of our great country, and it's killing 91 people in the U.S. every single day according to the CDC's numbers. So, how did this all come about? Big Pharma, of course, started the ball rolling, assuring doctors for the longest time that these drugs weren't addictive and that it was safe to keep giving them out to patients as long as needed. But for far too many, that turned out to be for the rest of their lives. Now, 2 recent studies have discovered some vital pieces of information about why this epidemic keeps on growing. New research from the University of Michigan found that if you're having any kind of surgery, you have 1 in a 16 chance of becoming a chronic user of opioids. You might think those are pretty good odds until you realize that's an average across many different types of surgeries and many different types of drugs given at various dosages. Compare those findings with another, even more frightening study from the researchers at the University of Arkansas who discovered that the number of pills you're discharged with can even more accurately predict your odds of becoming a long-term user. And it could be a lot greater than 1 in 16, especially if your doc sends you home off of the month's supply of OxyContin. For example, with a 1-day dose of an opioid, said lead author Dr. Bradley Martin, your risk of still being on that drug a year later is 6%. But for each day you add, the risk climbs, and it climbs quickly. A 5-day supply ups the danger of addiction to 10%, and if your doctor gives you an RX, a drug that's good for 10 days, your odds of becoming a long-term opioid user jumps to 20%. That's 1 out of 5. And that steep rise to fast-track addiction was something even Dr. Martin was shocked to see, saying, "We really didn't expect that." But why do doctors keep dispensing so many of these pills when they should know full well about the danger? In an article he wrote for the Courier Journal, Johns Hopkins professor of surgery, Dr. Marty Makary, recalls that during his residency, he was trained to give every surgical patient a prescription for 30 to 90 opioid tablets upon being discharged. At the time, his doctors were told that would prevent those late-night phone calls from the patients asking for more. For most of my surgical career, I gave out opioids like candy, he admits. That was 15 years ago, but it's not as if that practice has gone away, much like the horse and buggy, because as Dr. Makary tells it, while 3 to 10 tablets after a C-section is now considered with the best practice range, some doctors are still sending patients home with prescriptions for 30 to 60 tablets. The doctor's own aha moment came when his father had gallbladder surgery and recovered comfortably at home with a single ibuprofen tablet. So whether you've known your doctor for decades or just a day, if he gives you a prescription to treat any kind of pain, especially after surgery, you need to find out if it's an opioid drug, and if it is, ask for other options, because we know enough right now to say that even 1 opioid pill can be 1 too many. Topic number 2. This is a funny one. Here's how trying to get fit too fast can kill you. You might think I'm talking about a heart attack or a heat stroke, but I'm not. This particular side effect of pushing yourself beyond what your body is used to doing can land you in the hospital before you know it. And if you don't catch it fast enough, directions to the nearest dialysis center will be on your GPS. And it can happen to anyone at any age. An indoor, high-intensity group cycling section almost killed Christopher Michael Everett, a fit 33-year-old who decided to give it a try for the first time. He says that within the first 10 minutes, his thighs started to feel funny, but he powered through it and finished the class. By the next day, he realized it might be something more serious, and after Googling spin class and sore legs, Everett spent the next week in the hospital being carefully monitored in an IV fluids to flush out the toxic buildup in his kidneys. It turns out that he was suffering from rhabdomyolysis, or better known as rhabdo, which is basically a breakdown of skeletal muscles. What happens when your body starts pumping chemicals into your bloodstream that can cause unbearable pain, muscle swelling, kidney failure, and even an abnormal heart rhythm. While plenty of weekend warrior activities can bring it on, along with something not exercise related at all that I'll tell you about in a moment, it seems that most cases flooding ERs these days are from increasing popularity of that so-called spin class. Now, the notion of any kind of exercise being bad for you will probably put a smug on the faces of all of us couch potatoes, but remember that some physical activity still is vital to staying healthy and preventing all kinds of diseases from diabetes to dementia. It's when you try to push yourself beyond your limits that you get into real trouble, especially when you're climbing on a bike, maybe for the first time in decades, and trying to keep up with kids who do it every day. Knowing the warning signs that you've gone too far can be a lifesaver. Signs and symptoms of rhabdo include extreme muscle pain, which can involve swelling of your muscles and might not show up for several days later, nausea, vomiting, and feeling lightheaded, dark-colored urine, which can mean your kidneys are already in serious jeopardy. If you have any of these symptoms, it's much better to be safe and a little embarrassed than sorry, as it can escalate to a code red condition before you know what hit you. So when you doubt about any of these symptoms, see your doctor or head to the nearest ER. But one of the best ways to make sure you don't become another rhabdo victim is to never let yourself become dehydrated while engaged in any kind of physical activity, and that means drinking before, during, and after. The other is to take it slow when starting anything new and listen to what your body is telling you, which might be saying to you to stop. While rhabdo can even happen to professional athletes, it's most likely to hit someone trying something they're not used to, be it volleyball with the grandkids or a spin class with your neighbor. And even if your idea of workout is walking to the mailbox, rhabdo is still something you might need to know about. That's because well over 100 drugs can have the serious condition as a side effect, especially statins like Lipitor, Crestor, and Zocor. I'm sure you've heard about those common debilitating statin-induced muscle pains. Well, rhabdo is the most serious muscle-damaging statin effect of all. Other drugs that can trigger this condition include acetaminophen, Tylenol, antidepressants, benzo drugs, and corticosteroids. Because many over-the-counter pain relievers can also damage the kidneys, experts recommend that you do not take any NSAIDs such as Advil, Motrin, and Aleve after an extreme workout. If you do develop rhabdo, it will put your kidneys even into greater danger. Topic number 3. It has all the makings of a spy novel. Intrigue, conspiracy theories, and government officials are trying to suppress vital information. But sadly, the long and winding story of Lyme disease is all too real, and it has left a lot of Americans suffering as a result. Now the CDC is hard at work fanning the flames, issuing a new report stating that the chronic Lyme disease doesn't really exist and that there are no valid reasons for long-term treatments of this condition which cannot be scientifically verified. As a result of those statements, it may well become more difficult for you or a loved one to get medical care you might desperately need. But there are still doctors out there who aren't falling for the CDC's nonsense and can put you on the road to recovery from Lyme disease. If those suffering from the ravages of chronic Lyme disease weren't so run down in pain and often disabled, I'm sure they would storm the CDC headquarters right now. Because if the agency were trying its hardest to infuriate them, it couldn't be doing a better job. The report that it just released has all the earmarks of a massive cover-up, and many believe that's exactly what's going on. The agency says that the current test for Lyme disease is right on target, and those who claim it's not accurate aren't using it correctly. They're also saying that thousands of people who believe that they have chronic Lyme disease are mistaken. Either it's all in their heads or they have some other undiagnosed condition. Seriously? And to think we're actually paying these officials with our tax dollars? If you want to learn the real truth about Lyme disease, it might make more sense to hear what those on the front lines of this disease have been saying. One is Dr. Nevena Zubzovic, a doctor at Harvard Medical School and a co-director of Dean Center for Tick-Borne Illnesses. Dr. Zubzovic said that the current test for Lyme is about as accurate as a broken clock. Out of 100 patients with the disease, we might misdiagnose 69 of them having their infections untreated, she said. And since Lyme can mimic the symptoms of so many different diseases such as Alzheimer's, MS, ALS, lupus, fibromyalgia, as well as causing common problems like joint pain, stiffness, exhaustion, and flu-like symptoms, it's obvious that getting the right diagnosis is critical. But why would a supposed watchdog agency like the CDC stand behind a test that's wrong more often than it's right? As the Lyme research specialist Dr. Dietrich Klindengart observed, the current guidelines are designed to serve the insurance industry very well, and that of course means saving billions. Insurance companies spend a small fortune lobbying the feds to keep the policies of the CDC and other agencies just the way they want them. And when reports like this come out, it sure seems to reinforce what experts like Dr. Klingenhardt and others are saying. With Lyme disease, however, the best approach is to make sure you're super vigilant when it comes to checking for ticks as soon as you or any of your kids you're in care of come in from outdoor activities. If you find a tick, remove it as soon as possible by lifting it up on the body with your fingers, tweezers, or a tick removal device and pulling it straight out. And remember, deer ticks, which transmit the Lyme disease bacteria, can be as small as a speck of black pepper. Now, as far as Lyme testing goes, the current tests are almost totally worthless in the early stages of the infections, which can last several weeks or longer, and that's something even the CDC admits. So if your Lyme disease test comes back negative and you still have the symptoms of the disease, you should be retested again. And be sure to ask for both the ELISA test and the Western blot test. But perhaps the most important thing you can do is find a doctor who is Lyme literate and can really get you the help you need. And one who knows better than to fall for the misleading government advisory, the CDC. Topic number 4. Speaking of Lyme disease, could an unassuming little shrub actually be a superhero in disguise? One with the power to overwhelm a pathogen that's been making the lives of millions of Americans miserable for decades? It turns out that extracts made from the leaves of the stevia plant are powerful enough to zap the Borrelia burgdorferi bacteria, the tick-transmitted pathogen that causes Lyme disease. Research done a couple of years ago and just now making the media rounds could possibly be the biggest news yet in treating this often debilitating disease, one that hundreds of thousands in the U.S. are diagnosed with every year. And the best part is you can actually grow this amazing little herb right in your own backyard. Is there anything stevia can't do? It can sweeten your coffee and tea with basically 0 calories. We use it in Cardio for Life and many of the other products we have. Can stop damaging mouth bacteria in its tracks and has been used to control blood sugar and blood pressure. Now we're hearing about research from the University of New Haven published 2 years ago that compared extracts of whole stevia leaf and commonly used antibiotics head-to-head in their effects on the microbe that causes Lyme disease. What the researchers found is that stevia extracts were effective against all forms of this disease-causing pathogen. And yes, this ancient bacterium, it's been around for about 20 million years, has learned how to morph into various forms to survive. That's what they do. That's one of the reasons Lyme disease is so difficult to treat with traditional antibiotics. Borrelia can also form a slime-like biofilm, which researchers said allowed to hide from antibiotics. In this study, the stevia did just as well or better in killing off the bacteria as did the drugs. While this research was only done in the laboratory, not with people, it was found makes perfect sense. Numerous other studies have confirmed stevia extract to have exceptional antibacterial properties. Plus, that research going back decades has found that the leaf is a very potent source of a superoxide dismutase, or SOD, a powerful antioxidant that can mop up free radicals like a giant sponge. Hopefully, more scientists will pick up where Connecticut researchers left off, as Lyme disease is fast becoming one of the most common and devastating illnesses out there. The tick that can transmit it can be as small as a poppy seed, and you can be infected if only one of these menaces stays attached to you for as little as 48 hours. On top of everything else, this year may be one of the biggest yet for tick populations. So all you hunters out there going out into the wild, be very careful. Despite all the amazing health benefits to be found in the stevia plant, however, it appears the best known for its sweetening abilities. But as I told you last month, most of the so-called stevia products in the supermarket only contain the minute amounts of the herb and are bulked up with genetically modified corn ingredients. If you want to take advantage of all the benefits stevia has to offer, you need to use the most potent form, which will be a whole leaf concentrate. It will look like molasses and be quite strong, but still sweet. You can also buy a clear liquid extract as well as dried and ground leaves. And you can grow it yourself, but you'll need a spot that gets full sun exposure and some little stevia plants, as it doesn't grow well from seeds. Your stevia should reach a height of around 30 inches and be around 18 inches wide, so leave adequate space if you're cultivating several. Plan on harvesting your crop in the fall when the cooler temps will make the leaves even sweeter. You can add fresh stevia leaves to a cup of tea. You use them as a delicious garnish on cold drinks, or dry and grind the leaves for extra sweetness. To do that, you can use a flat screen or just bundle and tie the stems, hanging them in the dry place the way herbs were dried in the old days. Finally, topic number 5. The FDA is about to make what will probably be one of the worst decisions ever regarding the approval of a vaccine, and they've made a bunch load over the years. It's one that will be shoved down the throats of anyone over 18 for the purpose of preventing hepatitis B. But what is very well may end up doing is causing an epidemic of heart attacks. How in the world, you ask, could our so-called watchdog agency be poised to put so many citizens at such a big risk? That would be an excellent question, a question that the FDA is hoping to dodge any way it can. There's a simple rule in life, says cardiologist Milton Packer. If you don't know, you shouldn't say that you don't know. But try telling that to biotech company Dynavax. The drug maker is doing its best to confuse the issue over the fact that its vaccine for hepatitis B, dubbed Heplicab, was found to up the risk of suffering a heart attack by, get this, 700%. That's not a typo. So how did the drug maker respond to that? Dynavax released a statement saying that its vaccine didn't really cause more heart attacks. The problem was that people who took the other shot it was being tested against had fewer heart attacks. Wait a minute. That's like telling a police officer that, listen, sir, I wasn't speeding. The other cars were just going too slow. Despite those frightening findings, however, an FDA advisory panel just voted 12-1, saying the agency should go ahead and approve Heplisav. 3 members abstained from voting, with Dr. Packer being one of them. The FDA still said it will make its decision before the year is over, and I think it's pretty much a shoo-in that this new shot will land in your doctor's office before Christmas rolls around. But what is it that makes the vaccine so incredibly dangerous? Dr. Packer brought up the possibility of a new adjuvant being used in the shot, causing an anti-inflammatory response of unknown duration. And that's a very likely possibility. Inflammation is well known to cause the rupture of plaque in your arteries. When that happens, a sudden blood clot can form, triggering a heart attack or stroke. And adjuvants aren't just some inactive ingredient used in vaccines for no reason at all. They're potent chemicals drug makers add to shots to jumpstart your immune system. And the contents of this particular one, called 1018 or 1018, are a deep, dark secret, or as it's called in big pharma lingo, proprietary. What we do know about 1018 is that even the vaccine-happy FDA has been hemming and hawing over it since 2012, when Dynavax first submitted this application for this shot to the agency. If you've had a baby or a grandchild born within the past 2 decades, you might know that this rush to vaccinate against hepatitis B starts almost immediately after a baby is born. It's unbelievable. There are already several other brands of hepatitis B on the market, with the first shot given to infants minutes after birth, then at least 2 more times before they even start kindergarten, for something that is only transmitted via needles or sex. And just because Heplisav was shown so dramatically to up heart attack risk doesn't mean that any and all other vaccines, from shingles to polio to flu shot, don't trigger the very same danger. That's because practically every shot out there has never been specifically tested to see if it will raise your risk of a heart attack or stroke. What turned up with Heplisav was such a dramatic increase that it couldn't be ignored. Soon, Heplisav will hit the market, and untold numbers of Americans will become the guinea pig for its post-marketing trial, and then the real-world effects of this drug will come to light. No doubt, that's when the FDA officials will shake their heads and say, "Who knew?" It's really sad. All right, let's get to some good news. Testimony number 1. Dr. Harry, your book probably saved my life. I love what you do, who you are, and Smoking Choices readers know who you are. I found your old newsletter, What Killed Tim Russert, from July 5th, 2008. You still have a link for this one? I could use to cite yet one more reason why I love, respect, and admire you so much. It would be beneficial for others to know and understand what actually can be done by any who are willing to put effort into saving their own life. Work for me. Thank you. Thanks to you. Ever grateful. Thank you for that, Jan. Yeah, Tim Russert, that was really a tragedy. He was on 3 different medications: diabetes, blood pressure, and cholesterol. Went in for a test. That test showed that he was perfectly fine, and 2 minutes later he had a massive heart attack and died. So sometimes you get false positives, sometimes you get bad readings on these tests. That's why I recommend Smart Pulse. Get one for yourself or for your family. They're very affordable, and they are very accurate, and they will save lives. Thank you for that, Jan. Testimony number 2. Dr. Harry, it has been some time since I have been in touch with you. This last July, I was 79 years of age, and I feel great. Sandra and I are in our 4th year of taking Cardio for Life. There are very few days in that time that we have failed to take the drink. Well, I'm with you on that. On a personal level, I find that my legs and shoulder muscles are very firm, and I find that I can still squat down on my heels and stand up unaided a number of times. Also raise my hands above my hand in prayers to the Lord for quite a long time. These things in themselves may not seem particularly impressive in the grand scheme of things, but at my age, they are important, and I can walk for miles. We are truly grateful and appreciative of what you have done for us personally. We thank you, and God bless you, Dr. Harry. Well, thank you so much for that, Bob, who lives in Australia, and I hope at 79 I'm doing as well as you, and I take my Cardio for Life twice a day. Testimony number 3, I love Cardio for Life. Awesome product, great customer service, and a very results-driven product. This is the best product and will save people's lives. Heart disease at an all-time high. It doesn't have to be that way if you take this product. As for Dr. Harry, very funny man, and at the same time he has laser focus when it comes to what's happening out there when it comes to the FDA and Big Pharma. Listen to this man, pay close attention. Your life may depend on it. Well, thank you for that, David. Testimony number 4. Cardio for Life is a great product. My father had high blood pressure for 35 years, and with the use of Cardio for Life and a change to a vegan diet in a period of a year and a half, his doctor reduced the use of 3 medications, and we hope will eventually eliminate them all. When medicated was controlled in a 140/90, and now he is 120/80 with the use of Cardio for Life. Well, thanks for that, Angel from Puerto Rico. I hope you're doing well down there. God bless you. Testimony number 5, I love you, Dr. Harry, and all the life support products you provide. And the coolest thing ever is that you answer the phone personally. Currently dealing with potentially decades of consuming and utilizing unhealthy tap water. Please avoid tap water. I will be ordering the products again soon and looking forward to it. Well, thank you so much for that, Kippy. And that concludes our top 5. I just wanted to give a shout out. Yesterday on the news, we heard about the tragedy that happened in Las Vegas. Our president referred to it as evil, and that is true. It was truly evil, and oftentimes I think, well, what's the opposite of evil? Well, that's good, people. And I think, well, maybe I can bottle good and give it out, goodness, and make it available to people. You know, or anti-evil cream or something. I can't do that, but I could tell you this, it's been done already, and it doesn't come in a bottle, it doesn't come in a cream, it comes in a book. #1 bestseller, people, the Bible. All the answers, the truth is there, and goodness will overcome evil someday, and I hope you're with me, and someday we will join hands together, lock arms together in heaven, instead of where this man, Paul said, absent from the body, present with the Lord. Not in the case of this man. He was absent from the body, and he wasn't before the pearly gates. He's standing before the devil, and he will get his just reward for eternity. So there you have it, folks. Hate to end on such a sad note. But God bless you all. God bless this country. And thank you for viewing the top 5. This is Dr. Harry saying, till next time, good day.